They don't leave because you're unworthy. They don't vanish because you did something wrong. Avoidants disappear when their deepest fear gets triggered. And sometimes it happens with just one sentence, one moment, one truth they cannot bear to face. Today, I'll show you why saying this one thing can make them run forever. The unspoken terror. Avoidants crave love, but fear it even more. They build walls, not because they don't feel, but because feeling is overwhelming. It pulls them back to the wounds they buried long ago, wounds they've never truly faced. So when you say something that cuts through their armor, it feels like a spotlight on everything they've been hiding. And for them, exposure equals danger. Imagine this. A child grows up in a home where love felt conditional, where affection was rare, where closeness was followed by criticism, where silence replaced comfort. Maybe when they cried, no one came. Maybe when they reached out, they were pushed away. Maybe when they trusted, they were let down. That child learned something quietly, deeply, almost wordlessly. Love is unsafe. Needing is dangerous. Depending will get me hurt. Fast forward to adulthood. They're now with you. You're kind. You're patient. You just want connection. But to them, even love feels like a threat. So they armor up. They smile without revealing too much. They care without showing the full depth. They love, but only at a distance. And then one day, you say something small, something true, something any secure partner would receive with warmth. But to the avoidant, it feels like an earthquake. It could be words like, I need you. I can't do this without you. Please don't leave me. I love you more than anyone ever could. To you, these words are honest. They're tender. They're expressions of trust. But to the avoidant, those same words sound like chains, like demands, like proof that soon they will disappoint you. Their nervous system panics. Their body remembers every moment. Love turned into pain, and instead of leaning in, they pull away. This is the unspeakable terror inside the avoidant. Not terror of you, but terror of what closeness might mean. Terror of being needed in ways they fear they cannot fulfill. Terror of being fully seen and then rejected. So they retreat. They vanish. They disappear into silence. And you're left wondering, was it me? Did I do something wrong? Why would honesty drive them away? Here's the truth. Avoidants don't leave because you said the wrong thing. They leave because your words touched the one place they swore never to go. Your vulnerability exposed their hidden fears. Your openness made them feel trapped. Your love felt like pressure, even if it wasn't. To them, love equals danger. Closeness equals loss of self. Need equals rejection. Picture it like this. If you've lived your whole life believing fire will burn you, and someone places your hand gently over a candle, you don't think of warmth. You think of pain, even if the flame isn't harmful, even if it's safe. That's what love feels like to the avoidant. Every tender word, every emotional truth, every moment of need feels like fire. So when you speak with vulnerability, they don't hear love. They hear alarm bells. It's not that they don't care. It's that caring is terrifying. Their nervous system is wired to run. When intimacy gets too close, their mind tells them they'll lose themselves if they stay. Their body tells them the danger is real. So they leave. Not because you were wrong to love them, but because your love lit up all the places they've buried. And here's the painful irony. The very thing you want to share with them, your heart, your honesty, your love, is the very thing they crave, but don't know how to receive. They want to be chosen, but being chosen makes them panic. They want to be loved, but being loved makes them hide. They want to be needed, but being needed makes them run. This is the cruel paradox of avoidant love, and it's why that one sentence, that one vulnerable truth, can make them vanish forever. Not because your words were wrong, but because your words unlocked the fears they cannot face. When love feels like pressure, to you, love feels like freedom. It feels like safety. It feels like belonging. But to the avoidant, love feels like pressure. Not because they don't care, not because they don't want you, but because every fiber of their body has been trained to see intimacy as suffocating. Think about it. If you grew up learning that closeness led to criticism, rejection, or abandonment, what happens when someone leans in with love? Your body doesn't relax. It tenses. It doesn't say, "Finally, I'm safe." It says, "Danger is near." That's the reality of the avoidant. Love doesn't feel like love. It feels like a trap. So when you tell them, "I need you. I can't imagine life without you. You're everything to me." To you, these are words of devotion. To them, these words translate as, "You're responsible for my happiness. You must never fail me. You're the reason I breathe, so if you leave, I'll collapse." And immediately, their nervous system goes into lockdown. This isn't logical. It isn't rational. It's primal. Avoidants are wired by past experiences. Their mind can know you mean well, but their body reacts as if survival is at stake. It's like pressing on a bruise. You don't intend to hurt them, but the moment you touch it, they flinch. Here's the paradox. The avoidant often falls in love with the very people who are open, giving, and emotionally present. The kind of partner who says, "I'm here for you. I love you. You matter." They're drawn to that warmth. They crave it secretly, but once it gets too close, they panic because deep down, they don't trust it will last. This is why so many avoidant relationships swing back and forth between closeness and distance. One day they seem all in. They laugh with you. They share their world. They even let the walls down. And then, suddenly, they pull back. They cancel plans. They get quiet. They grow cold. They vanish. Why? Because in those moments of closeness, they felt something stir inside them, a longing they swore to bury. And when you mirror that closeness with your words, your vulnerability, your need, it triggers their survival instinct. Love feels like pressure. Commitment feels like a trap. Your honesty feels like chains. Think of it this way. Imagine carrying a heavy backpack your entire life. Inside it are messages like, "Don't depend on anyone. Don't show too much need. Don't get too close. Stay strong. Stay separate." Now someone comes along, someone kind, someone loving, and says, "Here, let me carry it with you." To most people, that would feel relieving. But to the avoidant, it feels terrifying. Because letting you help means trusting. It means sharing weight. It means admitting the backpack is heavy. And that feels unbearable. So instead of letting you in, they push you out. They distance. They detach. They disappear. Not because you weren't enough, but because closeness felt like pressure. Here's another painful truth. When you voice your needs, when you say what you truly feel, the avoidant doesn't hear, "I love you." They hear, "You're failing me. You're responsible for my every emotion. You must never leave me." Even if that's not what you meant, your love is filtered through their old wounds. Your honesty gets distorted by their fear. This is why so many partners of avoidance end up feeling silenced. They think, if I say too much, they'll pull away. If I show my needs, they'll vanish. If I'm honest, I'll lose them. So you start walking on eggshells. You start holding back. You start hiding parts of yourself just to keep them around. And in the process, you lose yourself. But here's what you must understand. Their reaction is not proof. that your needs are wrong. Their withdrawal is not proof that your love is too much. Their silence is not proof that you scared them away. It's proof of their fear, proof of their wiring, proof of wounds that still live inside them. Think about this carefully. When you speak your heart, you are not doing something wrong. It's not wrong to say, "I love you." It's not wrong to say, "I need you." It's not wrong to say, "You matter to me." But in the avoidance world, these words land differently. They don't hear them as gifts. They hear them as obligations. And obligation is the thing they fear most. This is why the avoidance love cycle is so confusing. They want love, but fear it. They long for closeness, but run from it. They crave being needed, but suffocate when they are. So they live in a constant push-pull, a cycle that exhausts you and empties them. Here's the heartbreaking part. Deep down, the avoidant wishes they could stay. They wish they could believe love is safe. They wish they could relax into your arms without fear of being consumed. But their body betrays them. Their mind whispers warnings. Their past still echoes louder than your present. So when love feels like pressure, they retreat. And this retreat often feels final. Because if they leave after you've shown your heart, they tell themselves, "See, this is why I can't do closeness. It always gets too heavy. It always demands too much." They convince themselves leaving was right. They rationalize it as self-protection. And you're left holding the pain. But here's the truth they won't admit. It wasn't your words that drove them away. It was their fear. It was their past. It was their unhealed wounds. They didn't run from you. They ran from what being with you awakened in them. Why your love feels like a demand. To you, love is offering. To them, love is demanding. That's the split. That's the wound. That's the cycle. Think about how you love. You give affection. You share words. You reach out. You show care. And in your heart, this is generosity. It's devotion. It's the purest expression of love. But the avoidant brain doesn't translate it this way. It rewires your gift into something else. It hears your offering as an order. It hears your devotion as expectation. It hears your need as a trap. For example, when you say, "I just need more time with you," you mean, "I miss you. I love being around you. I want to connect." But what they hear is, "You don't give enough. You're not doing it right. You're failing me." And instantly, their nervous system flips into defense. The avoidant lives in a world where love feels conditional. They've been shaped to believe, if I don't perform, I'll lose them. If I don't give enough, I'll be rejected. If I get too close, I'll be abandoned anyway. So your need isn't met with openness. It's met with panic. Your love feels like demand. Your closeness feels like pressure. Your truth feels like criticism, even if that's the farthest thing from what you intended. Here's the paradox. The avoidant secretly longs for someone who sees past their walls. They crave the partner who doesn't give up, the one who stays, the one who proves love is real. But the moment you actually stay, the moment you actually prove it, they feel threatened. Because staying close means exposure. Exposure means risk. Risk means loss. And so the very thing they want, they reject. This is why the avoidance cycle is so cruel to both sides. They pull back not because you're wrong, but because you're right. Not because your love is too much, but because it's exactly what they need. And that's terrifying. Think of it like this. Imagine someone starving, hungry for years. They've convinced themselves food is unsafe. They survive on scraps, telling themselves they don't need more. Then you come along with a full plate, warm food, real nourishment. Their body screams with hunger, but the fear in them whispers louder. If you eat this, you'll depend. If you depend, you'll lose. If you lose, you'll starve worse than before. So instead of eating, they push the plate away. This is the avoidant dilemma. They push away what they need most. They reject what their heart longs for. They sabotage the very love they secretly pray exists, not because you offered wrong, but because they cannot yet receive. So when you open up, when you speak your love, when you admit your need, the avoidant doesn't see courage. They don't see intimacy. They don't see the bond deepening. They see demand. They see exposure. They see chains. This is why many avoidants vanish after moments of intimacy, not because the moment wasn't real, but because it was. That realness cracks the shell. That intimacy exposes the wound. That closeness makes them feel like they've lost control. And for the avoidant, control equals survival. So they leave to reclaim it. And here's the part that hurts most. They'll tell themselves it's your fault. They'll convince themselves you're too much. They'll rationalize that you were demanding because it's easier for them to rewrite the story than to face their fear. Easier to call your love a burden than to admit their wounds still rule them. But here's what you must never forget. It was never your fault. It was never your flaw. It was never your need that was wrong. It was their wound, their defense, their fear of being consumed. This is why so many people get caught in the avoidance cycle. You think if you just love them better, they'll stay. If you just give them space, they'll relax. If you just hide your needs, they'll finally feel safe. But no matter what you do, the cycle repeats because it's not about you. It's about them. That's the hardest truth of all. You can't outlove their fear. You can't outpatience their panic. You can't shrink yourself small enough to make their wound disappear because their reaction isn't to you. It's to what you represent. Love, closeness, dependence, the very things they were taught to run from. So when you confess your love, when you show your need, when you speak from the heart, and they vanish, understand this. They didn't vanish because you were wrong. They vanished because your truth touched the wound they hide most. And until they face it, they'll keep running. The words that break their defenses. Every avoidant has defenses, invisible walls, armor they've worn for decades. But there are certain words, certain truths, that cut straight through that armor. Not because they're cruel, not because they're loud, but because they expose the one thing they're most afraid of, being seen. Here's the paradox. The avoidant spends their life longing for someone to see them, but the moment someone does, they panic because being seen means being vulnerable, and vulnerability feels unsafe. So what are the words that trigger this collapse? They're not dramatic. They're not shouted. They're often soft, honest, simple. They sound like, I need you. I can't do this without you. You matter more to me than anyone else. I don't want anyone but you. You're the one I've been waiting for. To you, these words are intimacy. They're devotion. They're love spoken raw and real. But to the avoidant, these are alarms. Because every word says, you hold power over me. You're responsible for my happiness. You could hurt me more than anyone else. And that weight, that responsibility, feels unbearable. This is why so many avoidants retreat right after deep confessions. Not because they don't feel the same, but because they feel too much. They know if they stay, they'll have to open. They'll have to risk. They'll have to let love be real. And that terrifies them more than loneliness ever could. Here's something few people understand. The avoidant doesn't fear you. They fear themselves. They fear the part of them that might need you, that might cling, that might finally soften. Because if they let that part out and you leave, the pain would be unbearable. So instead of risking it, they disappear. Think of it like a fire alarm. Your words of love, set it off in their nervous system. Not because love is wrong, but because their wiring has been trained to equate closeness with danger. So what feels safe to you feels threatening to them. And here's the cruel irony. These are the same words they secretly want to hear. Deep inside, they dream of being needed. They crave being chosen. They long for the day someone says, "You're my person, you're it." But when it actually happens, the wound wins. The dream collides with the fear, and fear takes the lead. This is why you feel so confused. One moment, they're leaning in, opening, letting you close. The next moment, they're gone, silent, cold. It feels like whiplash, like betrayal, like you imagined the intimacy, but you didn't. It was real. It was just too real for them to hold. Let's go deeper. The avoidant has lived most of their life believing they can only count on themselves. They've been taught dependence is weakness, closeness means loss, needing anyone is dangerous. So when you say, "I need you," they don't hear intimacy. They hear entrapment. They hear, "Now I can't escape." And so they escape before the trap can close. But here's the heartbreaking truth. Your words aren't wrong. They're beautiful. They're sacred. They're exactly what healthy love requires. The problem isn't you. The problem is the wound. They've never healed. This is why you can't measure your worth by their reaction, because their silence isn't a mirror of your value. It's a mirror of their fear. Their withdrawal doesn't prove you were too much. It proves their walls are still stronger than their desire. And here's the secret most never realize. The avoidant doesn't forget those words. Even after they vanish, even after they ghost you, even after they run, your truth echoes in them. Your love stays lodged in their chest. Your confession lingers, like a song they can't turn off. Because once someone sees them, they can never unsee it. This is why so many avoidants circle back. Months later, years later, even after you've moved on, they'll return. They'll test the waters. They'll wonder if you still see them. Because though they left, they never truly escaped. Your words haunted them. Your truth followed them. Your love cracked something they can never fully repair. So here's the paradox you must hold. The words that scare them most are also the words they'll never forget. They'll run from them, but they'll always remember them. They'll deny them, but they'll secretly replay them. Because those words proved something they never believed possible, that they were lovable, needed, irreplaceable, and no amount of running can erase that truth. So when you wonder if you were wrong, if your honesty was too much, if your need ruined it all, remember this. The only thing your words did was reveal a love their heart wasn't ready to hold. And that is not your failure. It's their fear. The lesson their silence teaches you. When the avoidant disappears, when they retreat after your truth, it's easy to believe you lost. It's easy to think, "I pushed too hard. I scared them away. I should have stayed quiet." But the truth is the opposite. You didn't lose. You revealed. You revealed their capacity. You revealed their limits. You revealed where their walls still stand. And this revelation, as painful as it feels, is a gift, because now you see clearly. Now you know what you're dealing with. Now you know it wasn't your fault. The avoidant didn't vanish because you loved wrong. They vanished because they're not ready to love right. They didn't run because you were too much. They ran because intimacy felt too much. And that is the truth. Their silence tries to hide. Here's the pattern you must recognize. The avoidant lives in cycles. They open just enough to taste closeness. They pull back when it feels real. They circle when distance feels lonely. They return when they miss the warmth. Over and over, and without awareness, you get trapped inside that cycle. confusing their push and pull with proof of love. But cycles aren't love, they're fear in motion. And here's where your power comes in. You can't break their cycle, but you can break yours. You can choose to see their retreat, not as rejection, but as information. You can choose to believe their silence more than their temporary closeness. You can choose to stop chasing what was never stable, because love should not feel like waiting. Love should not feel like guessing. Love should not feel like punishment for speaking your truth. If your honesty sends someone running, they're not ready for the kind of love you're here to give. And that is not a tragedy, it's clarity. But here's something tender you need to hold on to. Your love did matter. Your words did land. Your presence did reach them, even if they never admit it, even if they never return. Because no one forgets the person who saw them. No one forgets the soul brave enough to love them without armor, even the avoidant, especially the avoidant. And this is why you must not shrink. Don't let their retreat make you softer in the wrong way. Don't let their silence make you quieter. Don't let their fear make you doubt your own love. Because your honesty was never the problem. It was always the mirror. And sometimes, mirrors make people run. So what do you do now? You honor your truth. You stop blaming your heart. You stop rehearsing the what-ifs. You start realizing that your love is not a weapon. Your need is not a trap. Your truth is not too much. It is exactly what love requires. And if someone can't hold it, they're not your person. One day, you'll meet the one who stays. The one who doesn't flinch when you say, I need you. The one who leans closer when you whisper, you matter to me. The one who smiles, not runs, when you say, you're the one I've been waiting for. And in that moment, you'll realize the avoidance silence was never the end. It was only the doorway, a painful, necessary doorway to someone who can meet you fully. So if you take nothing else from this, take this truth with you. You didn't lose them. They lost the one thing they secretly always wanted. Someone who was brave enough to love them with no mask. And they will never forget you. But you must not forget yourself. And if this message found you today, if you felt yourself in these words, know this, you are not alone. Thousands of us are learning how to love deeply without losing ourselves. So if you're ready to keep healing, keep learning, and keep stepping into the kind of love that doesn't run when it's real, make sure you subscribe here, because you deserve love that stays. And together, we'll make sure you never settle for less.